So, quick question. Would you rather have 1 million impressions on your latest white paper or one single buyer who actually trusts you enough not to fire you if things go sideways? Yeah, because right now, most of us are out there collecting eyeballs like we're some sort of digital serial killer. We're thinking it's still going to pay the bills. But here's the cold, hard truth these days. AI has turned the attention economy upside down. We're rich on paper, but we're starving for revenue. We're basically the king of monopoly money in a world that only takes MasterCard. So are we building a brand or are we just shouting into a polar vortex? Stick around because the way we measure success in content marketing, it's officially different. So today we're diving into one part of a new series of this month, Measuring Content Marketing in the Age of AI. Now look, for 25 years we've been living, well, kind of a lie, right? We've treated human attention like quantifiable currency. We built content factories that measured eyeballs and high-fived each other over attention and impressions and MQLs that, let's be honest, were just people who accidentally submitted the form while trying to find the unsubscribe button. But the climate's changed. AI has created a universal solvent for information, and answers are everywhere. And by the way, nobody cares who wrote those answers. The view as a value piece or attention as a value piece, that evaporates. We got to move past attention arbitrage. And with this series, what I'm going to try and do is introduce a set of frameworks, if you will, that moves us from counting clicks and eyeballs to measuring the only thing that actually survives the AI apocalypse, the depth and breadth of our relationships. So what I want to start with today is the foundation of this measurement thing that I call the Audience Trust Index. But before we do that, let's talk about the devaluation of attention. In the old days, we traded on information scarcity, right? Our business, we knew things that the buyer didn't. But now AI gives everybody the answers for free. 1 million impressions today, it's just kind of noise. I mean, it's what I called in last month's series on brand and content, the beige wall. We're all painting the beige wall. It's boring, it's everywhere, and it's now making us invisible. Now in B2B specifically, we like to think that buyers, on the other hand, are these rational spreadsheet-wielding Vulcans, and they just aren't. They're exhausted, road-weary humans whose primary goal is to try and look at the beige wall and figure out which choices they're going to make to not look stupid in front of their boss. 59% of global businesses regret a major purchase in the last 18 months. Think about that for a minute. Today, most buyers aren't looking for the cool innovation or the new or the magical ROI. No, they're looking for the safe choice so they don't get fired. Today, content marketing's job isn't to provide more and more exciting information and more ROI and more innovation. It's to manage the emotional trust climate. So, okay, what does that mean? I mean, how do we measure trust in this emotional climate without sounding like we're trying to lead some group therapy session? Well, we can actually steal from the pros, the psychiatrists. There is a clinical framework that is out there. It's pretty well known. It's called the Business Relationship Health Index. Been around for a number of years. And what I've done is I've dragged it out of the therapist audience and maybe moved it into the marketing audience room. See, we're looking at 3 dimensions of our new content of managing this emotional climate. And these 3 dimensions, as I sort of think of them, are 1, shared sentiment, and I call that the empathy dimension, right? Does our audience feel like we actually get them, right? Or is it freezing cold because we're just spamming them all the time? 2, there's reciprocal utility, and that's the value dimension. In other words, does our content actually help them do a job to be done or make progress to a job to be done? Does it mitigate their fear of the new and basically mitigate that fear in a way that develops trust? And then 3rd, predictable governance. In other words, the trust dimension, consistency. Does our content ecosystem actually keep its promise across the entirety of the journey? If the white paper is great, but the sales call is a dumpster fire, your governance, your consistency is broken, and so is that dimension. So here's the thing, and this was the thing that sort of gave me the so what, or the aha moment, if you will. So the research from that Business Relationship Health Index study showed that 54% of a company's success, 4% can be explained purely by the health of its emotional climate and relationships. So I'd like to think if we can at least start with this kind of framework, this kind of dimension, looking at the audience relationships that we're building with content marketing, and measure across these three dimensions the depth and breadth of that trusted relationship, well, there's an opportunity there to maybe attribute up to a half of our success of our content marketing to the depth and breadth of those relationships and how that's affecting the business. We've talked for years about how content marketing builds an asset called a subscribed audience. So if we can construct a way to measure that depth and breadth of our relationship with that audience, with our community, if you like that word better, well, we've got a way to do that. We've got a new way to measure our content marketing approach. So I've put the link of the full article with all the nerdy clinical details in the post link here. And next week, part 2, we're going to take a sledgehammer to the industrial sales funnel with our content marketing and start talking about how to use these dimensions to actually build in dashboards, analytics, measurement programs across the various parts of the journey that actually survive the chaotic, messy, and frankly, these days, weird buyer journey that we're all stuck in now. So stop counting clicks, stop counting eyeballs and impressions, start measuring trusted relationships. And in the meantime, it's your story. Tell it well. I'll see you next week.